and welcome to the strangest gig I've ever played. True tales from the studio and the stage. I'm your host, Chris J. Norwood. This is part 2 of our conversation with the great Matt the Cat Hillyer, lead singer and songwriter for the classic country and honky-tonk band out of Dallas, 1100 Springs. If you haven't heard part 1 of our conversation yet, you can do that now wherever you get your podcasts. Matt had so many great stories that we had to split it up into 2 parts. And so without further ado, let's get back into it. Here's Matt Hillyer. So 1100 Springs, I mean, were y'all road dogging it? I mean, were y'all doing...
We traveled a lot.
150 dates a year or something?
Yeah. I mean, I want to say, probably over 150 a year at when we were really hitting it, you know. Probably more than that.
Yeah.
But we traveled all over the country, and prior to 1100 Springs, the hardest road situations that Steve and I ever had were with the bands Lonestar Trio and Strap.
Yeah.
And those, you want to hear a story, man. Some of the first quote unquote tour we ever took with Lonestar Trio was like a month and a half, and it would take a really long time to get into the ins and outs of it, but it was just like a guide to what not to do.
How so?
Well, first of all, we needed a vehicle to go on tour in, so we...
Was it like a support? So like were y'all playing support to somebody else? Or y'all...
No, we had our own dates. Jim, the Reverend Horton Heat, when I was a senior in high school, pulled me to the side and said, "Hey, there's this club in Southern California."
Yeah.
And I told the gal who owns the place about you. She'll give you a gig. Call her up, and So that was it. That was the only point of reference we had.
Yeah.
So I called her, and she did. And we built our whole quote unquote tour around that.
Yeah.
And there were other people that we knew in the rockabilly world that got us other gigs once we got to California, but everything before that was just ridiculously not thought out at all.
Yeah.
We had no point of reference for we had an agent at the time, quote unquote agent, who was supposedly booking gigs for us, but probably really just taking deposits and,
Yeah.
disappearing.
So were you just calling up, looking up whatever venue in Phoenix and calling it up?
Sort of, yeah. I mean, like I say, our agent was doing some of that. I did some calling. But I mean, you talk to other musicians.
Yeah,
you kind of knew
the places to play.
And so we did El Paso, we did Santa Fe, we did Albuquerque, we did Phoenix, and the first thing, like I said, was we needed a tour vehicle, so we went and we'd heard about a friend of ours knew somebody who had a mid-size 82 Malibu Classic station wagon.
Okay.
And it was in Denton, and we went out to see it, and it didn't start or run or anything like that. We open up the hood, and it's just leaves underneath the hood. And they wanted $400 for it. And we said, "We'll take it."
Yeah.
We
could fix this.
Steve could, and he got a job at Western Auto so that he could steal the parts necessary to make it run and to make it roadworthy.
So he got the job specifically so he could steal
he
parts.
had worked there before.
Okay, yeah.
And he can work on cars. He had worked there before, so it wasn't hard for him to get a job there again.
But he didn't do it because he needed the money. He did it because y'all needed the parts.
Money's nice, but yeah, he was fixing that thing up. But so the band's got 3 people in it. We took a friend of ours, Andy, with us to help with the driving and selling merch and stuff. But in order to fit everybody and all the gear into this mid-sized station wagon, we had to take everything from the front seat back out.
Yeah.
I mean, everything.
Seats, everything.
Everything. Yeah. Plastic. It was only bare metal from the front seats back. That was it. And there's no seats. We took couch cushions from my mom and dad's old couch, and we would sit on that. And so and then you'd be leaning up against like the bass cabinet, and the upright bass neck is going over your shoulder. We had a car top box that we put on top for a lot of the stuff. It was, and the back windows didn't roll down. It wasn't even an option.
Yeah.
And
did the AC work?
The AC did not work.
Of course.
And neither did the windshield wipers. And we tried. That was the last thing we tried to fix before leaving town for like a month and a half.
Yeah.
And we couldn't get that fixed. So we tied speaker wire to the windshield wipers, with the idea that if it starts raining, you just start pulling the wire.
And you'd roll the side windows down.
And it did. Then... The very first day it started raining, we drove into a deluge, and the wire broke, and we had to stop at like Napa Auto Parts and get actual rope.
Yeah.
But now keep in mind the idea behind that, because like if you're driving along pulling this rope, the windows have to be open.
Yeah. So you're getting drenched.
Yeah. It's just ridiculous. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
And it was like a month and a half like that. And like I say, the story in and of itself, like of that first trip, is long, because it just was like one thing after the next.
Yeah.
Of just being destitute.
Just doing it the wrong way.
Doing it all wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah. And finding yourself in situations. By the time we got to California, and this is a funny thing about gigs, that this is another gig where you're just sitting there going, what? Why? Why? Why did they need a band here at all? Who thought that it would be a good idea to have music at this event? And why us?
Well, because when you're done with chickens, you got to have live music.
Okay, so but by the time we got to California, we didn't go to Southern California where our friends were first. Our first stop was in Santa Barbara. In California, I was 18, and California had a pretty strict no underage policy. So I had to sit in the car by myself while the guys would go inside and eat pizza and drink beer. And we played at the first gig we played in California was at this bar, and I'm outside in the station wagon where I spent so much time. And they said, okay, well, you can, when it's time to play, you just go in and you walk right on stage and do your thing.
Play and get off.
Yeah. So I did that, and I realized that the gig that we're playing was a ping pong tournament. Yeah,
of course. Yeah,
it's a ping pong tournament. They couldn't have cared, and the people in the bar could not have cared less that anybody was on stage at all. But what I'm looking at right in front of me is this guy's ass hopping around, hitting this ping pong ball. And we were supposed to play like 3 sets, and we did 1 set and just bailed.
Yeah.
Because, we weren't really going to get any money off this situation. And we decided we'd just bail on the gig, drive to Southern California. Hopefully our friend would let us stay with her, even though we showed up a night early. We slept on the PCH in the car.
Yeah.
Which, I'm sleeping in that car. What a nightmare.
On a couch cushion?
Yeah. I mean, you can't understand exactly how just uncomfortable that whole situation was for hours on end anyways. But then just to sleep there, on the side of the road, the windows don't roll down,
So were y'all making much money at these gigs?
No, not.
I mean, enough to maybe get to the next town? Or?
Maybe.
Yeah.
No, I mean, not really. I mean, I think my dad had a credit card.
Yeah.
If I'm telling the truth, I mean, we might not have gotten into that credit card until maybe 2 trips down the road, but eventually there's no getting around it. And we wound up paying him back for everything, but. And
your parents were what did they think about you at 18?
Well, they already knew that I had already been playing professionally since 13.
Yeah.
That's the thing. We would go on the road, and I would call home, just to check in. And you know how it is when you check in. It's just you don't really want to talk about it.
Yeah.
You know, like you don't want to talk. It would just drive my mom crazy because I'd go on all these trips and I'd come back home. She's like, "How was the road? Tell me about your trip." I was like, "Yeah, it was all right."
Yeah.
I should drive her nuts. But when you go through all that, you don't. It's too much to tell.
Yeah.
It's really too much to tell until it would drive. What really drove her nuts is that I would start telling stories about these trips.
Yeah.
When other people would come around.
Yeah.
You know, like I'd be having conversations with other music friends and talk about, oh man, remember that one time this happened? And she's like, you never told me that. It's like, well, I didn't feel like talking about it.
Yeah.
You know? And that's,
I mean, because it's mom and she wouldn't understand, or just teenage
I think
thing.
it's just, it's a lot to remember.
Yeah.
I mean, even now, as I talk about it, like if I go stream of consciousness and I go connect the dots from one thing to the next, then I can sort of remember what happened. But if I'm sitting around thinking about it, it all runs together.
So at the time, were you having the time of your life, or yes
and no? Yeah, I mean, like it's fun to go and be with your buddies. It's like being at camp.
Yeah.
But on that particular trip, there were a lot of moments. You could always find fun, even when it was bad.
Yeah, that's good.
You know, you would always laugh about stuff, but there were plenty of like days and weeks, really, that stretched into situations. Going, what are we gonna do today for food?
Right.
What are we gonna do there? Where are we going to sleep tonight? That stretched into years, really, because it wasn't like that lifestyle stopped whenever that trip was over. That was just it. Like we never, for 2 or 3 years, most of the time we never had a hotel.
Yeah.
You know, somebody would have to maybe be nice to one of the door girls.
Yeah.
And hope for that we could all sleep on her floor.
Yeah.
You know, or we'd sleep in a roadside park.
Yeah.
And
like a Walmart parking lot or something like that.
Whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, all of that stuff, and that aspect of it can get to where no, that's not fun.
Yeah.
And you wake up and it's cold, like really, really cold.
Yeah.
That's just not something you ever forget, you know. And you can't. It's just hard. You go into a McDonald's and your teeth are chattering, and it's hard to warm up.
Yeah.
You know, like, and that's the life you've chosen for yourself, because there's no money.
Yeah.
You know. But the flip side of the story, if we'd have kept going with that particular band, things were starting to happen.
Yeah.
Words were getting out. We were getting press, and so what do? We decided to just break that band up, not do that anymore, do something completely different.
Why break up? Just
it was Lonestar Trio, and we because it was just it got to be sort of, it didn't make a lot of sense to us musically.
Yeah.
Because we were getting so loud that you couldn't hear the upright bass and you couldn't hear the vocals. And to be a rockabilly band like that, we were sort of chasing after what Reverend Horton Heat was doing.
Right.
And also, you know, there's already one of those guys.
Yeah.
And he's the best at it.
Yeah.
And no one's going to touch him.
Yeah.
And it's not that the band could have done fine. We just, and also I think a lot of people, even though things were happening, there were just a lot of like sort of our friends were getting signed to record deals when we weren't, and like a lot of people were taking a sort of wait and see attitude.
Uh-huh.
And they didn't want to take a chance on a rockabilly band, even though we were selling tickets.
Yeah.
And doing well and all of that stuff. They're just like, well, we'll just wait and see. It's like, we don't have time for wait and see.
Yeah.
So we kind of decided, well, maybe we'd be better off as a rock and roll band. We're already loud.
Yeah.
You know?
Just add another guitar and switch to electric bass.
Well, we were a power trio for a pretty long time. Sort of with the idea of like something like ZZ Top.
Yeah.
You know? It was different than that, but
yeah. That trio thing.
Uh-huh. But yeah, I don't know. It's hindsight's always 20/20.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard keeping a band together. Even like the fact that 1100 Springs did it for so long, that's incredible.
Well, and we could have kept doing it forever because it's Texas and it's country music, and there's always going to be a gig for you, and there's always those diehard fans that are going to stick with you forever, and they're gonna buy everything you put out.
Yeah.
Forever. But I think that, like, when it came time to make that decision not to do it anymore, I think it was just one of those things where during the pandemic, I know it gave Steve some time to just really, like everybody else in the world, reevaluate where he was in life, where he wanted to be. And traveling around in a band wasn't necessarily what he wanted to do. And I didn't really want to do it without him. And the truth be told, like, I've been having a lot of fun doing these songwriter gigs. I like telling the stories. I like having a different kind of conversation with the audience.
Yeah.
I like the freedom that it allows me to just do whatever I want to do. Write whatever kind of song I want to write. All of that stuff.
You thinking about doing any full band dates for the new album?
I am doing a band show coming up pretty soon. I have 2 band shows on the books, and it's weird because I haven't played with these guys yet.
Yeah.
I mean, I've played with one of them. Chad Roofer's going to play bass on one of these shows, anyways. And so he played guitar with 1100.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a little weird. I do think about just doing some band stuff because I think there are such situations that could call for it, and some people want to see that. Yeah. And sometimes I like that too. But I really, really, ultimately, I still just really enjoy getting up there,
doing the songwriter thing.
Yeah, by myself.
That's cool.
And I like trying to stretch it and see what I can get away with, just me and an acoustic guitar.
Yeah.
So that's kind of my target. I know so many friends that they're making their career that way. They're traveling all over the country in all these listening rooms, just them and an acoustic guitar and their songs.
Yeah.
And they're doing it.
Makes the traveling easier.
It does make it easier. I think if I had to settle on a band of any kind that I would do on a regular basis, I think it'd probably be something like an acoustic trio.
Yeah.
Maybe. But I love and hate being alone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm the same way.
There's part of it being by myself that I really, really love.
Yeah.
And then there's another part where it's just like, when it comes to just being out there just driving by myself, I love and I hate that.
Yeah.
It's meditative, and that's good.
It's great for the first couple of shows, but after a week.
Yeah, it's that's a little confusing.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Ultimately, I've been in a band mostly for about 30 years.
Yeah.
It's kind of nice not to be in one for a minute.
Yeah. Yeah, there is a freedom to when you have played in a band so long to just be up there by yourself and take a song wherever you want to take it.
Sure. Musically, that's cool. The other part is that, like, when you're sort of one of the honchos of a band, that one of the people who's the decision maker for a group of guys, there's just a stress and anxiety that goes along with that, because you want everything to go smoothly, and you want everybody to be happy,
right?
So that everybody can have a good show and have a good time on the road. But it just doesn't work that way a lot of times, and you can't relay that to your players every single time. Just being able to say, you have no idea what it took just to get to this spot so we could do this show. I'm sorry, the hotel's not up to your standards. Yeah. It's not the roadside park.
Yeah.
You
could be sleeping on a couch cushion in the back of a station wagon.
Yeah, that's right. And so I don't miss that part of it. I miss the camaraderie, and I miss my guys. I love them. And I do miss that part of it, but I don't miss the sort of anxiety that goes along with hoping everything's going to work out. And doing everything you can for it to work out. And I think Steve especially, historically has done a pretty great job of dotting I's and crossing T's.
Yeah.
For stuff like that, to make sure that things are smooth. Nobody ever had to wait to get paid from us. not really. Not typically. We're right on the money. No pun intended.
Yeah.
Like little details over time. Maybe it took us a while to figure out certain things.
Sure.
But like by the time we were done, it was a pretty well-oiled machine for whatever it was. And that's not something that could be said about a lot of gigs. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like there's just musicians typically don't get into the music business so they can deal with the minutia.
Right.
Yeah. Like, but I don't know. We took pretty good care about stuff like that. I don't miss that anxiety though of worrying about it. Like if with what I'm doing now, it's like if something goes sideways, I only have myself to blame.
Yeah.
And
well, and it's easier to pivot.
I've gotten pretty good at forgiving myself too.
That's good.
If I want to sleep on somebody's couch, my prerogative.
Yeah.
I'm easygoing like that. I don't, I don't sweat it too much.
Yeah.
So that part is a welcome change.
That's great.
But anyway, we'll see how it goes.
Yeah. So tell me now, I like to ask this question. Tell me about your dream gig, whether that's venue, playing with somebody. What would your dream gig be? Or have you already played it?
Some version of it, I think I've probably played.
Yeah.
I mean, I can say that, when I was younger, and even still to this day, going to see a show at Starplex was a big deal, right?
Yeah.
And watching people play on that stage and think, wow, man, wouldn't it be cool to play that? I've played on that stage.
Yeah.
That's
great.
Of course, that wasn't even with a dream gig. The dream gig to me, and when I say that I've already played some version of it, it's not, you're right. It's not about the venue. Mm-hmm. It's not about any specific venue. It's just like a situation where you're treated with respect.
Yeah.
A nice green room where there's good food, everything's running on time, people are kind to you, sound goes well, all the details, everything that's supposed to fall in place for things to go right.
Yeah.
That's it.
Those are the dream gigs.
Yeah. And then the other side of it is like, oh, I'd love to play at the Grand Ole Opry just to have that milestone. Yeah. And I got friends that are doing it.
Yeah.
So I sit there and think, man, it's not out of the realm of possibility. It could happen. I don't know if it will or not, but so that's a different type of dream gig.
Those are great.
But overall, it feels really good when you're able to play a venue where you got a good green room, and like I say, the people at the venue treat you really well and make you feel respected and seen and heard, and like dare I say, an artist.
Right.
Yeah. That's not as often as you'd think.
Yeah.
And when you do get that, it's like you want to turn to the rest of the crappy venues that you've played and be like, oh, is it really that difficult?
Yeah.
Is it really that hard? All they did was be nice.
Yeah.
That being said, I mean, most people are nice. Most people are cool. But it's just when things go, you can remember when the first time it happens. Like when you're playing, when you are just getting started and you're playing just a string of gnarly bar dates that it's Nowheresville. Nobody wants to. The people who own the place don't want to be there.
Right.
And then you finally get to one spot where, lo and behold, they treat you like something. They treat you like, like a person.
Yeah.
You never forget that.
Those are great.
That's to me, that's the feeling that you want.
Absolutely.
For everybody to do their job to make everything go smooth. It makes you want to do a better job yourself.
Yeah. That's great.
Gives you a sense of peace and enjoyment to what you do.
Cool, man. Well, Matt, man, I can't tell you how much I appreciate you coming in and just tell me these stories.
You'll probably have to cut it up into like 2 or 3 episodes. I talk a lot.
2 or 3 great episodes. Okay. That'll be good.
Cool. That's cool. I appreciate you having me. Sorry it took so long to get here.
No, man, I'm glad we did it. And so you got some singles coming out in October?
I'm releasing one here in about a week, I guess. I don't know how that works. I know we're talking about it and it's going to happen.
And it will be out, yeah.
Yeah.
So then how can people find out about you? MattHillyer.com?
That's right, MattHillyer.com. I finally got that web domain.
That's great.
I think I've figured out how to update it.
Perfect.
I'm learning. If I can just remember to do it. MattHillyer.com. You can find me on the old socials.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get my 13-year-old daughter to teach me how to do TikTok.
Perfect.
Yeah.
You gonna do some TikTok dances?
I did one. Because the good people at State Fair Records are trying to encourage me to post on my TikTok more regularly, and then they're like, see, you got to check out the trends, like this one right here. I'm like, all right, shoot, I'll do it, whatever.
Why not? Yeah.
I'll give it a shot. I don't know. I'm an old man. What am I doing? That's why I need my daughter to.
That's right.
She can school me on what to do.
That's great.
And then at least hopefully, at least I'll get something out of it from her in the sense that maybe she'll have fun laughing at me. So
hey, it's worth its weight in gold,
yeah,
man.
Exactly.
Matt, thanks so much. I appreciate it.
Thanks, buddy.
There he goes, the great Matt the Cat Hillyer. Y'all be sure to check out what he's got going on, MattHillyer.com, and be on the lookout for his new solo album coming out next year. Again, my name is Chris J. Norwood. You've been listening to the Strangest Gig podcast. If you've been enjoying these conversations, please tell your friends, get the word out, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. We've got some more really great guests lined up, and I can't wait for you to hear them. So until next time, if you're out there on the road, playing a casino in Oklahoma for a live chicken, remember, a gig's a gig, right?